So we've been talking a lot about Umbara, the history of Umbara, and the Battle of Umbara on this channel lately, and one of the things that's been mentioned a lot is the advanced technology that the Umbarans possessed, but we've never actually gone over what that advanced technology is. So I figured today we'd take a closer look at the Umbarans' advanced technology, how it manifested, and what kinds of technological achievements the Umbarans had under their belt. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So before we jump in, I want to just throw out there that because of the context that we see Umbara in, that being the Republic invasion of the world, most of these technologies have military applications. That being said, I would not be surprised if there were similarly advanced civilian technologies deployed by the Umbarans as well. So yeah, we see them use a lot of really advanced technology during the course of the Battle of Umbara, and while it does prove to be a pretty significant thorn in the Republic's side, it is eventually overcome. That being said, their technology is still worth discussing as it's very, very unique. So let's start with the soldiers themselves. The soldiers of the Umbaran militia are seen awkwardly wearing what appear to be spacesuits on their own planet, a fully sealed environment within the suit, making the atmosphere around them different from the atmosphere on their own world, which wouldn't make much sense because, once again, this is their home planet. But there's actually a reason behind that. The Umbarans have developed a gas that allows their soldiers to function better on the battlefield. It does so by heightening their alert level, increasing their physical capabilities, and making them more perceptive to the world around them, as well as negating the need for sleep and food to some extent, allowing them to fight for longer periods of time. This alone made the Umbaran militia infantry a force to be reckoned with, but then they bring their other impressive technology to the battlefield and things get even trickier for the Republic invaders. Next up, let's talk about the Studiger 100 stealth droid. This is a small infiltration droid used by Umbaran forces to infiltrate Republic defensive lines and wreak some havoc. These small droids, while not being particularly technologically advanced, did carry some rather unique weaponry, things like a very powerful electric shock weapon that could kill soldiers fairly quickly. This made them devastating to unsuspecting Republic forces, and even when these droids were found, they were pretty hard to destroy, being maneuverable and hard to shoot. Next up, let's talk about a piece of technology we see a lot during the actual landing on Umbara, the hover tanks. These hover tanks seem to function a lot like other armored vehicles from across the galaxy, however they do appear to be slightly more maneuverable, and their main weapon appears to be more effective and doubled. They've got two barrels to this main cannon, if you will. On top of that, it's worth noting that the shot fired out of these cannons seems to work a lot more like, let's say, a plasma projectile fired by a Wraith from Halo, where they arc towards their objective instead of being a straight shot like a tank shell. This makes them effective at, for example, bombarding Republic troops as they are trying to make their way out of the landing zone following the initial landing on the planet. And these tanks prove to be pretty effective against infantry in open fields and even some Republic light armor. However, their inability to shoot to either side was a pretty big disadvantage, especially when they were flanked by quick-moving AT-RTs. Next up is the impeding assault tank. These centipede-like tanks are known for being able to burrow under the ground to get around enemy forces and flank them from behind, making them a tricky foe to fight. On top of that, they appear to be ray-shielded, making it impossible for small arms, like blasters, to actually do any damage to the large tank, instead requiring a projectile, like a rocket fired out of a rocket launcher, to actually take down the armored vehicles. But once these assault tanks are destroyed, the Umbarans roll out something truly massive, their mobile assault cannons. That's right, these massive scarab-like walkers are actually technically an artillery piece, and we see them used like an artillery piece. Their primary weapon, mounted on their back, is used almost exclusively to fire arcing shots at longer range. At close range, they have things like blasters and lasers to sort of prevent personnel from getting too close, and the sheer size of the vehicle itself is used as a weapon as it can simply crush or walk over Republic defensive forces. That means that these walkers are a combination of a large mobile artillery piece and, say, something like an AT-AT utilized by the Galactic Empire. It's also worth noting that these mobile heavy cannons use a ray-shielded bubble cockpit very similar to the ones we see on their strike fighters, which leads you to believe that it might be interchangeable. Perhaps you could use the same cockpit for each vehicle, and a different set of controls are just projected in front of you. That provides a very effective situation for things like maintenance and maybe even training, allowing pilots of one to easily pilot the other. And that brings me to the last bit of Umbaran technology that we're going to discuss today, the Xanaus 33 Starfighter. This is the primary starfighter we see utilized by the Umbaran defenders during the Battle of Umbara. Well, it does appear to have some pretty interesting features, notably the bubble cockpit. It also does appear to be slightly more maneuverable than many other starfighters, being able to easily strafe enemy positions and perform roles like an attack gunship, as well as the roles of a dedicated space superiority fighter, and ground attack as well. All in all, these pieces of technology are one of the reasons the Republic invaded the planet in the first place. When Umbara defected from the Republic military was very worried about this technology being utilized by the Separatists. If you'd like to learn more about why Umbara left the Republic, I'll leave a link up here to my video on the history of Umbara and, why they decided to leave. And I'd like you to let me know down in the comments whether you think this technology is really significant enough to warrant a full-scale invasion of this world, or do you think the Republic is overreacting a little bit? After all, they do manage to overcome this technology. And if you have anything else you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, you can let me know down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.